Welcome to a hot July evening here at the OLUG Institute's training lab. I'm your host, John Larson. I'm a systems engineer at the OLUG Institute. This is the July 2012 Linux Users Group meeting. Oh, has everybody been staying cool in their air-conditioned rooms, more or less? Yeah, when you have to venture out into the heat to come here. Hello to everyone watching at home. So, oops, I think I'm too far away for that to work. That's better. Welcome to Tech Omaha. Hey. The leap second bug. Did anybody here experience it? Does anybody know what it is? No. All right. A lot of people with Debian experience this. So Earth's rotation does fluctuate, and so it has kind of slowed down a little bit. So to compensate for that, they added a second at midnight UTC on Saturday. So 23:59:59 went to 23:59:60 before it went to all zeros. Okay? This happened in 2008. It happened this year. For us, it was 7 p.m. on Saturday night. If you had NTP running and it inserted the extra second, certain Linux kernel versions hard locked. And since the screen blank, you can't see what's going on, and kdump didn't trigger. So you had a lot of systems that went down Saturday night that nobody knew why. So the Pirate Bay went down for a few hours.
Amazon?
No, that was a different thing. Reddit was down. Several high-profile websites went down. I myself saw this story about 20 minutes to 7 on Saturday night and decided, oh crap! So I went and turned off NTP on my servers. Because you can issue NTP date commands and update the time. It's just that those running NTP was what was causing the problem. So it was a simple solution, turn off NTP, and you're fine. So most people had to reboot a lot of servers on Saturday night. Now the Amazon thing was a storm had rolled through. You can flip open that panel here. There should be one right in front like that. So Amazon had a storm that rolled through North Virginia. There's a real place called North Virginia. And the electrical storm took out their power. After a while, they ran out of juice. Now, Netflix was down. They had an issue with that. Now, if you were already watching a stream, it was working. It's just the portion of Netflix that tells you where to get the stream went down. And apparently, they had an issue with the failover portion for their VM machines to a different data center. So that's why that outage occurred. So it was a wonderful couple of days of rocky roads for everybody. Which means those great uptimes are all destroyed. Android 4.1 is supposed to be out this month. Woo-hoo! The open source version should be out on the website. Did those who order the Raspberry Pi receive theirs? Thacker's not here. I'll raise one for him. It's a lot of fun. I booted it into Debian. By default, it does not boot into HDMI. You have to change some settings to do that. It boots to the composite out. So you get this like 480 screen resolution. Big letters of text. But it all works great. Browser and all that. Grub 2 has been officially released this week. So that's very good. Unfortunately, Ubuntu has decided not to use it for their secure boot. And the Free Software Foundation has sort of said, you guys don't know what you're talking about. It is okay with the GPL version 3. So we'll see how that goes. If you have Chrome on Linux, Flash 11.3 is being delivered with it. You cannot download 11.3 from Adobe's website because they will only give you 11.2 because they don't support it. But Google is supporting it in Chrome.
Yeah, and someone's going to pull the 11.3 out.
Yeah, well, we'll see because the packaging mechanism is different.
Yeah.
So that is my news rundown this month. Aaron's going to talk tonight about GNUradio. Aaron, where do you work?
What are you looking for?
I was going to say, where are you working, Aaron?
I'm currently an independent contractor at Nugent.
There you go.
Anybody needs somebody, though. Steve's a dandy, no. Steve is a great guy to work for.
He's on vacation, I believe, right now, isn't he?
I think so. So, GNUradio. Software-defined radios. Let's start with, by taking a look at one. Here's the one this is one of the ones I'll be using. It's amazing how they've changed these in the last, like 3 months. Plug this one in here.
Looks like a thumb drive.
Yeah, it's actually smaller than a lot of the thumb drives I have. All right, disclaimer. GNUradio can transmit frequencies that are protected by the FCC. It can also do wonderful things with bandwidth that's open and not really controlled, with 2.4 and 5 gigahertz bandwidths and stuff like that, depending on the software radio you have. For the most part, these are very low power devices, but please still be very mindful of that. GNUradio can also do certain activities such as replay attacks, which can get you in trouble with the DMCA and other organizations. In short, always be careful with it. I spend a lot more time playing around with the receiving side than the transmitting side, because it's usually a lot safer to do that. But it is kind of cool to be able to replay certain things just to cause fun things to happen. Yes?
If you have an amateur radio license, does it help with certain frequencies on transmission? Or is that just because it's commercial space protected and stuff still?
Well, you get all the bandwidth depending on what level you have.
Okay.
But it's, for the most part, I haven't really spent a lot of time in those bands. The thing is, the power on these varies so much from receiver to receiver.
Sure.
You could be pushing too much in the wrong area, so.
Okay, because of the power lead. Okay.
Because they're not as accurate. Well, it depends on what you get. If you get the Edis Research ones, then you probably could actually do more with it. These are not near as.
So more hobbyist.
These are actually very ghettos. the way they were created. What is GNUradio? GNUradio, or GNUradio, or however you want to pronounce it, is a software-defined radio. What is a software-defined radio? Designed radio, actually. It should be defined. A software-defined radio is a radio that uses general-purpose hardware and software to receive and transmit audio, in this case, radio. Typically, this is done by using a USRP, which is a Universal Software Radio Peripheral. One more time. While you can receive AM transmissions with nothing more than a crystal diode and an antenna, receiving more complex transmissions, such as FM, requires custom chips. An SDR does as much of this as possible in the software, so it uses as little chips based on it as possible. If you look at the actual contents inside this EasyCap TV, you'll see there's pretty much a capacitor, the RTL 2832 chip, and a couple other pieces in it. It's next to nothing for what it can do.
The biggest chip's probably USB interface.
Yeah. 3 last terms, we already did USRP. UHD is the USRP hardware driver. Drivers to allow you to access the USRP. Some people write their own custom software using the UHD software. These are the people who really get into the weird stuff on it. And another definition is DVB-T, which is Digital Video
Broadcast Terrestrial.
Yes, Digital Video Broadcast Terrestrial. Original purpose of the RTL 2832 receivers. Let's fire up a simple demo to show how an FM radio can work. just going to use GNUradio Companion for, which is the high-level interface on top of it, and use the, make sure I get the right one.
Is that GRC like a firmware that loads into the
GNUradio Companion?
GNUradio Companion is a very simple, it's an interface that runs on top of GNUradio.
Oh, okay.
That lets you draw everything out graphically. The way we have it defined here, over to the left, we have the RTL 2832 source, which just defines the hardware interface for that. We've got a throttle, which keeps the sample rate down. We've got a low pass filter. This is a very basic radio. This is not going to sound near as good as the other ones. There's the GQRZ one we'll take a look at later on, GQRX one later on. But it shows the basics of how it works. You can see the templates for this get more and more complex. If you go out and grab the GNUradio Companion examples, they have radios that are like 4 or 5 pages of this that are laid on top of each other in more and more detail. So the majority of the stuff is laid out right here: the low pass filter, the receiver, the audio sync. We can build it either one of two ways. We can either generate it to a Python file, which we can run with just straight GNUradio, or we can execute it through here. Let's just execute through here. And this is going to sound kind of bad because this is a very simple one.
unknown error code.
Okay. Or we cannot run it through here. Why are you doing this to me? All right, this is the point where you fall back to the basics. Okay, you want to be difficult. We'll plug in. I'll use the easy DVT one. So why am I getting... Let me fall back to...
Browser's not taking it.
No. Let me fall back to this one, which is a... It will sound crappy, but it will work.
Yeah, Alsa's busy.
Why
does the respawn from Alsa?
Also control sound, but I'm using pulse audio on this. I don't know why it's...
There might be an adapter.
No, I've never had to do this to move forward. Well, if this did work, it would be really awesome.
Well, I know it was running because you were running...
I was using GQRZ.
Oh.
All right, that shows how temperamental it can be, which is an important part of all demos. So we flip back out to easy DVT. And let me plug in this one again. But it gives you the core idea of what it looks like, which is it's pretty much laid out through a block diagram, and everything's laid out through there. One nice thing about it, you can actually have it generate that as a set of code, which it already has. Yes.
Is there still something like PLL, phase lock loop, for the tuning? Or is that just sort of, you know, if that's built into the song?
It's built into it. You can do it a couple different ways on this one. But this one, the way this is laid out, it's laid out, everything's hard-coded. Frequency is laid out as a variable on the top of it. When you play around the ETL locks, you can get the information back from it. Here's a generated set of the code. It's laid out in Python. It imports all the compare components into it. And it uses a WX window, the WX GUI, not WX Windows. They changed it due to a threatened lawsuit from Microsoft. Because Windows is a term owned by Microsoft. But it lays out the basics for how it goes. So not too complicated for the most part. The GNUradio Companion can get you the base for a very good beginning setup on it, which can be very nice. But one thing is, if we take a look at this, we can. Here's the actual file that flows into the GNUradio Companion. It's just laid out as a basic XML file. So you're doing XML, which generates Python, which calls a whole bunch of C to actually run the program.
So Aaron,
Yes.
do you want questions only at the end, or can I probably
Ask
answer?
now.
So you can use the $20 hardware device,
Yes.
GNUradio, and time shift NPR, for example.
Yes, very easily. It can do all sorts of wonderful things with it. One thing to keep in mind is one of the really great things about the GNUradio Companion and stuff like this, when you're laying this stuff out, you can either dump the stuff out, you can intercept it either as the raw input, or you can save the output that comes out from that would go to the audio sync. So you can save it multiple places. Obviously, you save the raw input to all the data, it's going to be a huge, huge file. But if you're grabbing something like information from the International Space Station, obviously you only have a certain period of time to grab that information. You want to grab that, save that, then do post-processing on it, because more like the nice thing about NPR is it's available pretty much all the time. So.
No, it's not.
Well, no, I mean,
There are small windows when it's not. Small things
very
when it's
small
not.
windows.
So a simple application would be $20 hardware device, GNUradio, it outputs the wave, you then turn the wave into an MP3 and
You probably downsample. I mean,
Yeah.
talk is what you can do. What 32K or
Yeah, you can always use the old speeds and code.
nice.
But there's a lot of options in there. But the thing is, you can do anything you want to with it, which is where it gets interesting. And you can also take a look at all sorts of weird frequencies and stuff like that. So the parts of the demo were the receiver, the software, the program. So the receiver, here's one of the example ones. This is an RTL 2832 dongle. Typically, the old days in SDR cost you between $250 and $2,000. The EDIS ones were around the $2,000 point, and the FunCube dongles were about $500 to $600.
Excuse me, did you say Fun?
FunCube.
FunCube. Okay.
FunCube dongles, which is actually about equivalent in terms of performance. It can't do as much as this can, but it was pretty much the entry level approach towards it. And there was a whole lot of interesting stuff because the EDIS guys had their own custom software, their own custom hardware built, and a lot of people said, why don't you release the specs for it so we can make our own and just be more open source about it? It's like, no.
We like our $2,000.
Well, they spent a lot of time working on it. It's not just GNUradio that runs with the EDIS research stuff either. A lot of other people use it for other things like that. There's supposed to be some sort of selling to the military and stuff like that, but nothing will be confirmed or that kind of stuff. Yes. But a guy who will go down in history, an Indian Palisari, discovered that some DVB receivers can be used as basic SDRs. So the digital video broadcast terrestrial receiver is used over in Europe for actually receiving TV. This guy, and I don't know how he figured out the chips on it and figured out the frequency range it would support, and said, hey, I could use that with software-defined radio. And this guy should be working at NASA or should be like in the Hall of Fame with the guy who came up with Whippets. Because this guy figured stuff out, man. And the professor from Gilligan's Island. How many people know what Whippets are? Oh, you know what it is. Don't you lie to me, Matt.
Nitrous oxide?
Yes. The idea is you take a can of whipped cream. And this is an important part of all OLUG meetings that are drug
Kids, do not
purposes.
do this at home.
No. Inhalants are bad because they will cause serious brain damage. You may end up in management. If you hit the nozzle a split second before the whipped cream comes out, some nitrous oxide comes out, you snort that, you get high for like 4 to 5 seconds. And apparently that's a lot of fun until you know your nostril full of whipped cream. So that guy, who never got the credit he deserved, should be part of history. But fortunately, N.T. Palisari, whose name I'm butchering, will have his place. So So there are limits to these receivers that the other ones don't have. 8-bit receiving is certain sampling limitations, certain holes in what it can and can't sample, but it's still pretty freaking amazing. You can buy these receivers for 20 bucks at most. In some cases, you can get them for less than that. If you buy from Deal Extreme, they've had some for like $11.
What's the name of that website?
Deal Extreme. It got it a little bit further on in this thing, but it's actually, you've hit Deal Extreme, have you?
No.
Everyone should hit.
Have you seen them on Amazon?
I've seen a few on Amazon, but they're a little more expensive.
They're 32 bucks on Amazon.
Deal Extreme.
Yeah, ships from Hong Kong.
There's a US dealer.
Most people
cool.
buy them from one of there's 3 places that are really popular to buy them from. Deal Extreme, eBay. eBay has loads of them, and the third place a lot of people buy them from is something called AliExpress. Has anybody ever used AliExpress?
I know the name, but I've not.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Did that work for you?
I got a really crappy helicopter that wasn't even worth flying.
The Simas are the way to go. 20 bucks, man. They're the Sima S107s.
Yeah, I got those too. Those are good. I tried a $12 one off that other side. $12 shipped from China. This one's pretty cheap.
Wow. Yeah, because the Sima S107s are nice because you can actually charge them off USB, which is stellar about the mini helis. But the AliExpress, the idea behind that is very simply, you agree to do the purchase, they ship you the hardware, you then validate it, and then it releases the payment usually, is what my understanding of it is. It's kind of, so it's a little different, but they have all sorts of weird stuff on it. If you want to get things like
free shipping, $11.
you want to get different, all sorts of different things on it. They have like Android set-top boxes, all sorts of weird stuff on AliExpress. It is just got stuff you've never seen before. But
AliExpress. Better than going to like the Civic with all the closed-out radios.
yes. Well, the one thing about it is the DVB-Ts aren't that popular in the U.S. because they won't receive U.S. TV broadcasts. So the only purpose to buy one in the U.S. is either you're going to Europe, or you want a gift to piss someone off, or you are going to use it for software on radio. But so yeah, here's a couple examples of the ones on here. Here's one of the ones. Actually, this is quite close to the one I have. There's one thing to keep in mind. Some of the ones have the right chip in it, some don't have the right chip in it. We'll show you later on. There's a list that actually exists which goes through all the compatible ones, which you want to make sure obviously get the right one, because an incompatible one is next to useless for you. So the Simple 8 FM receiver I was showing before was based on the 2H20 in their Tumblr blogs. So what we actually, let me actually fire up GQRZ, actually show you an actual working demo, which would probably be very nice.
That's kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. The nice thing about the GNUradio thing, which we'll go into a little bit more detail, gives you all the basic stuff where the interesting stuff is. I'll turn the gain a little bit. You can also record it to a file, all that stuff on it. Squelch, all sorts of options are available to you. I just discovered this like 3 days ago, and it is the way to go. Because if what you want to do is you want to see what's happening on a frequency, something like that.
Well, it gives you the oscilloscope like readings.
Yes, it does. Which is one of the things that only before, there's only the Windows programs provided. These is being used by a lot of people who are spending a lot of time on it now. It's actually quite cool. So actually, if you're looking for frequencies and stuff like that, it is definitely the winner. And it's very, very easy to use.
Online now.
Once you go through the incredible pain and suffering, and I can't put enough emphasis on it, the pain and suffering of installing GNUradio. Did I mention the pain and suffering?
Is there an Android app for it? Can you use the radio on Androids?
I haven't seen one yet. That would be
Interesting.
So what is the pain and suffering? You plug the device in and you apt-get it and you're done?
no. We'll get to that.
Hey,
Yes.
how wide can we get the band there?
This one, it's set pretty narrow. go wider. There's some limitations in the actual software, the way it's compiled up. But the guy says you can override a lot of them if you want to start going to town on it.
Okay.
Because the thing about the GQRX, is it runs on top of GNUradio. So it's got all the power of that. One thing it doesn't do, which I would really like, is if this would dump out all its specs into GNUradio Companion, so you can actually just modify the radios it generates. But it doesn't do that yet. But it does have a pretty active development base right now, so that gives you a basic idea.
But that's FM. You
Yes.
can get AM?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Where did I close it out? Yep. So you got to put the right factors in here. You actually have continuous wave, raw, IQ, all sorts of
This
stuff.
is also transmit?
No, this is receiving only. The way this is set up right now. This program is.
Can you reverse it?
You have a source? I don't know, having something that would randomly broadcast, that you could just drag and drop to transmit stuff would be kind of a little dicey. If you want to do transmissions, largely you'll do it with GNUradio itself, not through the GQRZ program,
Okay.
GQRX. But GNUradio itself can do it. And actually, we'll take a look at one of the guys that's put together some of the documentation on it. He uses the DVB-T dongles with a simple webcams to just broadcast webcam stuff to a centralized location and start aggregating information. So really, pretty much you can do almost anything you want to it. It's a software-defined radio. You can have it do anything that you can come up with that actually involves everything. One of the things people were using for a while ago was actually doing replay attacks. If you, actually Dealership probably sells this. It's this crappy little RF thing that actually works with your phone and is plugged in like a USB mouse stick. And it actually, whenever you walk a certain distance away, will lock your PC automatically for you. What people figured out was that as you get the right frequency, you can just redo the replay on it and just have it set up to just periodically send that thing. So you don't need to know anything about the actual piece of code being used by it. You just have to replay that component. And when you start looking around at the frequencies, you can see all sorts of interesting stuff, especially stuff that if you can actually figure out what it's doing in terms of just basic logic, you can actually start doing a little bit of fuzzing with it, which offers tremendous capabilities to it. Because all of a sudden it's like, let's start changing some information inside. Obviously, you're not going to get it back necessarily as zeros and ones in that situation. But some of the stuff you actually can through GNUradio is because it's something that comes back actually being digital. Well, the nice thing about it, if you're getting a digital transmission and there's actual digital information there, usually you either get it perfectly or you get nothing. So then you can start the process of fuzzing with it, which is all open to play with. It's the great thing about GNUradio. I mean, it's one of the reasons why it's one of the coolest things around. Because you start thinking about all this stuff in terms of just in terms of what you can do in terms of replay attacks, small alterations to stuff. There's lots of stuff to be done with it.
Generating some servers.
Yes, it's one of the wonderful things about it. One thing to keep in mind is the GNUradio RTL 2832 drivers are recent into the GNUradio stack, so they haven't necessarily been stable in all ways yet. The Edis guys and those have a lot more better setup. So, that was a quick demo of GNUradio. What else can you do with it? Basic radios, AM, FM, shortwave, RFID hacking. That's getting a little more interesting. Because it does RFID really well in terms of replay and stuff like that. You start playing. Yeah. People are using it for that. GSM snooping.
Really?
Not so much with these because of the band limitations, but some of the better ones you can. Satellite reception. People are picking up that. Both actually, there's a guy who actually gets stuff from Inmarsat, which is geosynchronous, 23,000 miles up. And you can also, there's people who've done stuff with these receivers actually, and getting stuff from like the International Space Station.
Or start getting your old Prime dishes out.
Actually, the one guy will actually, I'll show his video here in a minute, but it actually, he does use it as a nice little antenna for it. People figure out the math for it, because I mean, obviously it's basic radio math, so you create the antenna the right stuff. And the Amateur Radio Relay League has a whole bunch of information about software-defined radios and makes that available. P25 decryption analysis. Anybody know what P25 is? It's used for by firefighters, ambulances, stuff like that, emergency workers. It's one of those standards and things being used for that component. I've done a pretty decent job with that. And of course, hacking wireless PC locks is one of the other ones that's pretty popular. let's take a look at the RFID listening modification. It's a presentation. Thank you. They did them both, that's nice. How many of you have heard about the subway hack and that?
Yep.
Have you subway hack guys? These guys spent some time figuring out the, I don't know, do pen tests of the subway stuff, which is just amazing stuff. And what we're interested in.
Is this the one they tried to have blocked?
Oh yes, they did.
Okay.
It's very interesting that they there was a thread of a lawsuit which was just astonishing between the groups and stuff like that, because these guys really just ripped them apart. It's a great. There's a link inside the presentation to it. It's definitely worthwhile to just read their whole thing. The attack on physical security was just.
We breezed by this is very illegal.
Yes, the part we're covering is going to be. Let me. I already put that in the front. So, the following materials for educational purposes only. But the one I thought that was best when they started buying it. But, ooh. Come on, where's the? All right. So the RFID.
So just measured the return signal off the RFID.
Yep.
And played it.
So they figured out they want to know about the RFID, so they had to figure out how to do it. And they had to, of course, figure out what sort of hardware you're going to use for it. And there's, of course, several choices. You can just, actually the simple way to do it is get the RFID reader-writer, $50. The OpenBCD, OpenPIC one, PICC one, where it works pretty well, and they went with the USRP one, which of course, and they went with the $700.
GNUradio.
Yes, and they wrote their own plugin for it. And here's an example of what a real nice SDR can do. This gives you an idea of what you get. This is what you get for your $700 versus what you get for your $30. Definitely something to be said for that. So they figured it out, just tuned it, started reading off the information, and you start figuring out the information. And they just went to town on it. And the great thing about it is, once they figured it out, they owned it. So this is an example of one of the things you can kind of do. Because what you're getting here now, especially when you think about it, this is actually at least what's protected. A lot of the stuff people are doing over this, they're not protecting at all because they're assuming just because it's on the frequencies, that is safe. So there's a whole load of stuff. But this whole talk is, I got to show you one other thing in here, which was awesome. The brute force approach. What is a crowbar? I don't know that. But they were playing around with it. I'm going to show one other thing.
War ballooning, war carding.
War carding. This is the card they put together to figure out the underground system.
The PA speakers?
Yes. They went to town on it. Pronouncing and intimidating music. But these guys attacked it in every way possible, the Boston subway system. But the GNUradio part played only one part of it, but they figured out any one of these was a wonderful hack for them. Probably the best hack for them actually with the social engineering. But the GNUradio stuff could do a lot of stuff, information for them, got them stuff, and they could start doing the fuzzing and stuff like that with it. So it's just a great paper. I don't think they actually did the presentation because there was so much legal threat on them. But the presentation is out there in the net, so definitely make sure to grab it if you're interested in it.
That said smoke grenade launcher on it.
That's all sorts of stuff. Well, the worst thing was when they went off to eBay and they started buying all like the hats and stuff like that, and people were like, of course, once you have the right hat and the right badges, how many people are going to ask questions? Once you start thinking of something like that. I mean, if I showed up in the AIM Institute and just did, they might go, "Hey, who's the new guy?" But you start thinking of the Boston subway system, you're talking thousands of people. New people aren't
going to see somebody in uniform and not necessarily.
Yeah. Especially, you also figure there's so many different levels of employees and stuff like that. It's like they don't tend to mix it and stuff, so it's just a wonderful system. P25. P25 listening. P25 is a digital radio communication standard used by most safety agencies, federal, local, state for communication. let's take a look at this thing. This is done by a guy named Ballint256. I'm sure, hopefully he's got a better pronunciation than that. I think it's Ballint256. Because Ballint doesn't sound near as impressive. But he also has put together a couple pages on YouTube. He's got a new tutorial section up, which is very nice. If you want to find the any information about the RTL 2832 on YouTube, look for the world's cheapest whatever, and more than likely that'll be what it's about.
Hello again. I'm back with an update on Ultra Cheap SDR with the Realtek-based digital TV USB receiver. I'd like to demonstrate it being used to receive digital mode. But before that, I'd like to thank the community for taking the time to check out and provide feedback on the code that enables its use in GNUradio and on Windows. So I'd like to demonstrate it being used to receive P25. These are two P25 compliant radios, the XTS 5000 and the XTS 3000. P25 is a digital voice specification that's used by first responders worldwide. It's also known as APCO Project 25. There on the floor I've got the Realtek USB dongle, and if you have a look over here, this is the webpage for OP25, now hosted on Osmocom. It is an open source implementation sound card. In the top left-hand corner,
that's a lot of software definition there. Wow.
Yeah, that's how he has his laid out. It's a little more to it than any of the basic ones we have. This actually does decryption stuff as well.
So you have to do a module for that?
No, it's all written through here.
Huh.
But I think he actually calls a Python module with it. One thing about the way GNUradio is set up is you have the high-level stuff is written in Python. Then you go into the deeper level stuff, all the performance-related stuff is written in C++ for performance reasons. And you start looking at some of that code, and it is just amazingly tight code. They know what the hell they're doing. Because the GNUradio project's also been around about 11 years, so give or take. So that gives you an idea of what will the more complex ones look like.
We have the RTL 2832. Many of the parameters fit to whichever and hopefully we will see 4 narrow lines. I'm just going to key up now.
Is that part of the...
Yes. It's the part of the GNUradio we put together. You can find all this stuff in there.
So we had the 4 narrow lines, but the audio sounded garbled. And this is actually because I'm transmitting with an encrypted digital stream. If you look there on the top of the radio, the little notch here is on the encrypted symbol. And this radio itself has a DES OFB crypto board, and it has a key loaded in there, a test key that we use for testing purposes. If we scroll down and look at the OP25 decoder block, there is actually a key property that you can set, and I'm actually putting the wrong key on purpose, but we can actually correct that and hopefully get some audio coming out. Before I do that though, I've got the other radio on here. You'll notice that when I key up, no audio will come out of this one because it doesn't have a crypto board, and so only the light will blink at the top, meaning that there's a transmission, but because it doesn't have the keys nor the crypto board, it can't actually decode the audio. So let's have a look. Keying up on there, and you can see it blinking on the other radio. So now let me run this flow graph, corrected the key, and let's see how we go. Switching into the divots view. Alright. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. 1, 2, 3.
Why does he want to show the scope on the...
I think he does, he's just...
So that appeared to work quite nicely.
2 hands. Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to learn more about P25 or the OP25 project, please check out the website. You can also view a video of a talk given by Matt Robert.
But that gives you a core idea of what it can do. And so it can actually do decryption, pull all the sort of stuff down. It can do all sorts of cool things when you start writing the blocks for it. So it has quite a bit of capability there.
So is it just dump it to a file and then parse the file?
This guy was doing it live. You can do it to a file, then process the file, or you can do it as part of the transmission, as part of as
So
you're
with the
receiving.
file portion, you'd be like doing your testing, trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're not.
And then you
gonna
can
keep
build it
sending
in.
over and
Then you
over
can
again.
build it in.
Yeah.
The door just pulled.
Yeah, somebody just walked out. So, but in terms of what you can do in terms of capabilities, pretty much you can dump it to a file, you can process initially. When they first did the RTL 2832 and the guy first wrote the code for it, you actually had to dump it to a file, then process the file post that. But now they've actually gotten the code figured out and actually got it incorporated into the GNUradio project. So it's actually part of it now. So you've got a choice of what you want to do with it. You can file or do it the other way. Satellite reception. Let me show you this one real quick. So this is a from Mega Oscar Videos. He's another guy who does it. Uses a simple dish, receive information from the IMAR satellite network.
You're a big Europe.
They've had the
It's in that same.
yeah, world's cheapest. You see there. It seems like that was the common denominator of all these ones when I was saving them.
There's probably a playlist out there called World's
Hi
Cheapest.
folks, this is probably one of the world's cheapest Inmarsat reception systems. This is a very small 45 centimeters diameter dish. It's using a log periodic
I
antenna
thought it was a squirrel.
at the feet. This one is specified from 900 megahertz to 2.6 gigahertz continuous coverage. So it's a very tiny antenna, and what I have here, you can hardly see it. I have to use a few adapters because I didn't have other ones, but there is a USB DVB-T stick, and that's the actual receiver here. That's
Wow,
it.
we got one of the tiny
It's
ones.
streaming an IQ stream
That might be the Hammer
into the
Nano.
PC through the USB cable, which is here.
It's such a long USB cable.
Oh, that's what we had.
And what we have here is a Inmarsat.
This is, I believe, WinHSR, the Windows program.
It's a little bit of frequency. The nominal frequency is 1541.425 for the network control channel on Inmarsat Atlantic Ocean region on 15 degrees west, a geostationary satellite. Signal to noise ratio is close to 20 dB. No preamp, as you have seen before, just the DVB-T USB stick. And we are seeing here a total bandwidth of 1 megahertz. It's this tuner is using, or this USB stick is using the same tuner chip as a famous FunCube dongle. The only difference is that you have a wideband signal here. And if we would zoom into this one, if we apply the zoom there, we'll get a similar signal as on a FunCube dongle. How much do we have right now? Yeah, we have roughly 100 kilohertz bandwidth now, which is roughly what you would see on a FunCube dongle as well. So it's only a little snapshot of the overall bandwidth. So for very low cost, you can build an Inmarsat reception system. The sound that you hear here out of the speaker, you could feed into a decoding software and decode the Inmarsat C digital signal. This is a 1200 baud BPSK signal, and there are some decoders available on the internet. I hope you enjoyed this low-cost system, and if you own one of these DVB-T sticks, maybe you will try it someday on your own. Thank you for watching.
So that gives you an idea of what they can do with it there. There's,
What did you say was 1200 baud?
the data stream from the Inmarsat. So one thing to keep in mind is when you buy one of these, if you, depending on which one you get, you'll either get a mini jack or a regular size jack. You want the regular size jack, so you can get the European TV adapter at Radio Shack for like $6, which lets you plug it into a regular coax cable.
F connector.
Yeah, there's regular F that you can just plug into any antenna. That's why I just had it lying around the house. It does improve the quality of the reception. So you can pick up stuff from outer space. You can listen to P25 stuff. You get the keys right. They don't encrypt the information. You can do RFID stuff. You can do replay attacks, a whole bunch of stuff. You can use as a well, it's $20. It's actually not the world's cheapest FM radio, but it's still not bad. So there's quite a few capabilities to it there.
What's a replay attack?
You grab a sample of code, like the authentication or something that's happening, and then you just play it back again. Just play the data back again. It's like if you get an unlock, just send the unlock again later on if someone locks it. A garage door would be a perfect example.
Okay.
A lot of that stuff tends to go with a little more advanced.
Those are all rolling codes, though.
Some are. Depends on how old the one you're talking about.
Think of an access card for like a door.
Yeah.
Because that's RFID, so very, very similar.
But it gets back to when you have to get your antenna in. You have to get in the transmission somewhere along the lines and stuff like that. So one of the things you can keep in mind is if you were doing this in a horrible situation, you would probably just put some sort of receiver up because the RFID stuff will broadcast all the time. And then you just have to have somebody walk by it, and you can actually have your antenna located in the right location, and then you can try and grab some information and try and play that and see what it does. But you can do that regular RFID stuff as well. There's toolkits that make that available for educational purposes. You can do all sorts of stuff and modify stuff. When you start looking at the RFID stuff, you can start going nuts. This is actually kind of interesting because you're actually not just hacking the card, you're hacking the actual transmission, which is where things get interesting.
Yes.
But it can do a lot of weird stuff. So GNUradio goes back to 2001. It's licensed under GPL v3. It supports a variety of radios, Edis Research, FunCube dongles, and now the RTL 2832. There's also some other ones out there as well, but these are the most popular ones. And right now the RTL 2832 is just, it's by and far the most popular one because, once again, it's $12. How to install GNUradio? There are several ways to get that, to install the GNUradio stack. Many of them are incredibly painful with a combination of magic, voodoo, and animal sacrifice. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll be very, very, very happy when it's over. Or, and this is something I discovered when I started playing around with it, is you can use the Build GNUradio script from Shirley's Bay Radio Astronomy Consortium.
It's a great application.
The hint is use the Build GNUradio script. There's also a Windows version as well. If you have Ubuntu, there is actually a version of GNUradio in there. It is really, 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 really old, and it has no idea what RTL 2832 is. Well, the problem with it is GNUradio is changing so quickly in some areas that it's just there's no maintainer that's keeping it active, and it's very hard to do that kind of stuff. And there's a whole people are concerned about the possible legality of starting to get into this. If you're in a place like Russia or something like that has different rules about software for hacking stuff, you're theoretically opening yourself up to questions. Yeah.
So why the recent push? Why has it become so popular lately?
Because you can now do it for $20.
Okay.
I was interested in GNUradio. I remember Matt and I talked about it 5 or 6 years ago. We were sitting there going, man, I'd love to do GNUradio, but what if I don't like it? What if it sucks? What if it's horrible? What if I spent $2,000 on this? So that's pretty much where it stopped. Yes?
What version is GNUradio currently in?
I don't even have the number. I just grabbed the latest from the CBS about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
I built from the Build GNUradio script will grab the latest CBS release.
Okay, I know it's in the Fedora repo.
Yeah. I'm not sure how recent the one is in Fedora. It's probably, I don't know if it's going to have the...
3.42. 3.4.2.
Let's find out. That's the wonders of having the internet.
It's magic.
It is magic. It's all magic. You know that.
3.6.
3.6 then. Okay. You beat me to it. So that's one of the things to keep in mind. But there's a whole bunch of stuff you have to do with the Build GNUradio script. Let me actually show you the script, what it does. So first off, it's a shell script that's 1,241 lines long. It's actually really, if you want to see a really well-written bash script, it is really well-written.
And well-commented.
Yes. One thing to keep in mind is if you're running this on Linux Mint, it will think it's a Mint system, not a Debian system, and it will just and do a whole bunch of stuff to you. Yes, here's the available functions for it. So it'll grab the prerequisites. It'll do a fetch from Git. It'll build the hardware device driver. It'll fetch the firmware if necessary. Build GNUradio. It'll modify your groups. It'll modify your UDEV, because it actually has to put that in there as well so it recognizes it when it goes. Modify your syscontrol for larger net buffers. And it does all this magically. Keep in mind, if you have like, let's say 150 meg free on your system, and it's a pretty basic system, you're not going to be able to build GNUradio, because it will pull all sorts of crap that you never ever thought about needing. So what it does, it takes, on my base system, because I built the system just recently, rebuilt it, and it took about 500 megabytes plus when I was building the system, and it still afterwards still held on to a big chunk of it. So it's not a lightweight system to build, but it's much better. I don't know how long it took, because I let it go for 3 hours and I went to bed, and when I woke up like 4 hours later, it was actually done. So somewhere between 3 and 7 hours. I'm betting closer to the 7 on this thing. But it's actually, but it changed. That is the other thing that changes GNUradio now, because it used to be figuring some of this stuff out was a case of going through the forums, going through. Yes.
So like P25, is that coming with it, or is that something else you have to find and plug in?
GNUradio is just the base.
Yeah.
It gives you the GNUradio companion. You actually have to get diagrams, stuff like that out. Those are available through the GNUradio companion examples.
Okay.
Which exist out there. There's all sorts of example radios out there. You'll have to modify a lot of them, because a lot of them are configured for the Edis and the FunCube dongles. So you have to make some modifications to them, but for the most part, it's not too bad. What you normally end up doing, one of the nice things about the GNUradio companion is you can just cut and paste from one to the other one. So you just pretty much just change the software definition at the front. I haven't found a way to how they abstract it out yet, because it would really be nice if you could just have one thing saying, this is my radio type, and just be able to load all the other GNUradio companion files on it. But in terms of what it can do, the GNUradio companion examples, it gives a whole lot of stuff on it. And the GNUradio documentation is starting to catch up with it. So. Yeah, I haven't played around with the Windows version all yet. There's also supposed to be a version of Mac OS X, but it's not supported right now, so I imagine that's probably fallen quite a bit behind. So the way the example we took a look at the beginning, the one that didn't work, just I'll always remember it, is there was a file called RTL-GRC, which is the high-level XML description program, and the RTL-GRC is converted to a file called toplevel.py for Python, py actually, for Python, and then that's actually run by GNUradio. And the core components of GNUradio are written in C++ for all the performance reasons that you so desperately need. I imagine you could write a version of GNUradio totally in Python if you had access to a supercomputer. But given the fact you're doing so much stuff in terms of the FFTs and stuff like that, fast Fourier transforms, you really needed parts to be written inside C++. Yes?
So at a fundamental level, this is something that is taking the radio signal and converting it into something that's more like an audio signal for the computer to do all the processing by itself?
Yes.
So it doesn't tune any frequency at all?
It does. You give it it theoretically pulls all the information back,
okay,
but you're only listening to certain parts of it at any given time. You have to give it like restrictions, because it just can't. Theoretically, depending upon how powerful,
it'd be too much bandwidth.
Yeah, the Edis could pull down, if you're trying to pull, the Edis can pull, it has like 4 decoders at one time, so you can grab like 4 big streams.
Oh, nice.
But the thing about that is, well, you're also back to $2,000. And if you have enough disk space and enough CPU, you can actually have it pretty much do semi-intelligent scanning of the stuff. And that's one of the things that some people have done with that, so you can actually get more information for it. For the most part, what this does is it's listening at a frequency, grabs it, converts back to data. And what you do with the data, of course, is either you turn it back into radio frequency, you turn it to audio, you actually can use it in terms of data. So you can actually do figuring out experimentation with that way.
So how does it get just the frequency that you want? I mean, not.
You said at the beginning.
Okay.
The way we said that you pass it as a parameter to the firmware on the chip, the RTL 2032. The way we do it in the what you do here is when you do the variable setting for frequency, this is what the RTL 2832 expects for input. Sample rates, which is what I've got set wrong right now, which is why it's barfing on me. One of the reasons why it's barfing on me. The frequency, the hertz, bandwidth, so you can set it to a certain size. Obviously, the chip in this can only handle so much, so if you know what you want and just set it to a smaller thing, you'll obviously get better quality on it. You can do a higher sampling rate. There's all sorts of stuff you can do with it. You've got to do a balance between the two.
So is the chip that selects that frequency and then dumps it to the computer, is that
You pass it, when you initialize the chip, you actually pass that information.
Okay. And then how does that select the frequency? I mean,
You pass the GNUradio companion program, the GNUradio thing actually passes it to the USB chip, the USB protocol.
Right. On an electronic level, how does it actually get that frequency? Is it actually just like a digital tuner then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's got a bit. I mean, it's basically a just simple radio. If we take a look at it, it'll tell you what. Actually, I don't have RTL test installed. This. It'll tell you what bandwidth it can figure out in terms of frequencies.
Okay.
GNUradio and virtual machines. Everybody, of course, loves virtual machines now. It's everything. It's the solution to all your problems. That and the cloud, between the two of them, it will solve every problem you've ever had.
That's what supports the cloud. It's a virtual cloud.
Yes. I've been a victim of the virtual cloud. So there have been a couple projects to create a virtual machine with GNUradio. The USB performance of the VM is kind of limited, so this hasn't worked out too well yet. Obviously, if you're doing the radio stuff, you want to get it as pure as you can and get as much bandwidth, as much data as you can get across for it. One thing to keep in mind is also if you try and run a live USB stick, you might have some issues because you'll be competing with USB bands depending on how the quality of your machine. There is a project out there right now, because there's always a project out there, putting together a demo CD with some pre-cam feeds and an optics remaster. It's a demo project. The idea there is to have a whole bunch of stuff and have GNUradio ready to go so you can start playing with some sample ones and then either install it or else just be able to stick a USB in there and see if you're actually sufficient to handle it.
Well, it'd be good for education, doing a class.
Yeah, well, the thing is if you combine it together with some of the other information, it's actually can be pretty useful now because it's amazing how far the documentation has just come in like the last 3 or 4 months. It's just, I mean, just in terms of the projects. Some tips for improving your GNUradio experience. Electrical noise is the killer to GNUradio. GNUradio, my iMac at home is much clearer than it is on my laptop. Especially right now because I've got all the cables laying on top of each other. When you start thinking about, it's not a big deal when you're getting
RF,
NPR, but when you're starting to get when you're trying to pick up stuff from outer space, it tends to get a little more dicey because you can get lost in electrical noise quite a bit.
Don't put it near power transformers and things like that.
It's also one thing about this, my Dell M5030 is it is the world's cheapest laptop I think they've ever sold. With 4 gigs of RAM, which is exactly how well I went. It's like, do you want the extended warranty on it? Oh no, I'll throw it away if it breaks. So that's come out to be a thing about it. So one of the things to consider is the USB power for your card for an adapter, so the machine you consider batteries for cleaning power. So one thing a lot of people do when they're actually doing this, they'll actually unplug from the main. And some people actually have splitters that will actually power the USB, the actual tuner chip, from batteries instead of actually powering it from the USB to try and simplify things. Do you need some of that? I'm pulling you out.
Aww.
You gave me a look there.
No, I wasn't giving you a look.
All right.
So they're using a USB Y splitter?
Yeah.
So that they're putting the 2 power leads off to the side and the data's from
Yeah. But that, I think you're getting to the point where some of these people are like, it makes it so much better. It's like, does it really make it better? But being unplugged from the adapter definitely can make a difference. Obviously, that kind of stuff makes it. Unplugging the mouse.
I would assume along those lines, you're not going to be running through a hub. You're going to want a direct connection.
You can if you can make it fit. One of the great things about these adapters are, depending on which one you get.
Well, I mean, there's going to be so much of the noise on the hub.
Oh no, the hub would be bad.
Yeah.
Is there a way to switch to optical?
Not with these.
Like is there? I don't know. Is there a device that takes the USB signal, changes it to optical, and sends it to your system?
Nothing I'm aware of. I mean, if you get to the point with the Edis boards and stuff like that, they have other options like that. I wouldn't be surprised if you could actually probably get one with FireWire. I mean, I'm sure that they probably did one a couple years ago for that, just for their bandwidth.
Well, there's things like you saw the Inmarsat deal. He had his dongle pretty close to the actual antenna, and then if he'd done it the other way,
so he had less noise and chance for signal and stuff like that.
Yeah, getting it to digital on the USB is definitely, that's a good point. One suggestion a lot of people make is getting rid of the default antenna because the default antenna is made for, well, first off, it's made for doing DVB-T. So it's designed for TV signals, and who knows how well it works. But if you get the ones with the larger jack, you can actually just very simply go out and get the European TV adapter, like Radio Shack, for like $7. Plug it in, then you plug in, and then coax into it. This is just a straight up digital TV antenna for HD TV. It works pretty well. Another one they said works really well is called the budget TV antenna, which they sell at Radio Shack too, for like $11. So.
Good old rabbit ears.
Yeah, there's also some how-tos on where chokes can be put in the system to try and simplify things, but I haven't dug too deep into that. One thing to keep in mind, a faster computer will improve your experience, especially if you're doing receiving and conversion at the same time. If you receive it to a file, then process it, you can do it with a netbook pretty easily. But you start getting to the point where you start dealing a lot more stuff, it's going to be, you'll start dropping information, you'll start getting static, you'll start having
You watch the load when you've done it on a smaller machine?
I haven't done it on too many small machines. I've done it on my iMac, and I've had it installed. I installed the WinHSR on my netbook for a while there, but I just didn't really seem to work quite well. And the problem with the netbook I have is the 800 by 600 resolution. It doesn't give you a lot of
limits.
Limits how much stuff you can see. Yes.
So I'm getting the impression that these are just standard TV tuners you can pick up. And
yes.
They're normally not used for this.
No, these are used for something called Digital Video Broadcast Standard over in Europe.
Okay.
You can get a DVB-T Android phone from China.
Oh,
that's right. Because a lot of those. Oh,
that's interesting. But yeah, the guy who came up with this just figured this out. That you had the same chip as the FunCube dongle and just went to town on it. So these are actually, that's the reason why there's been so much of an uptick in these, because originally the cost for the board was between $700 to $2,000 for a software-defined radio.
Nice TV company decided to custom contract and ship out, and it doesn't.
And they found it was one that was being used for other stuff, but they figured it out. And the guy and Nidhi Sorry, whatever his name is early in the presentation, figured out you could actually use this for this, and that guy should be knighted.
So how can it send stuff if it's just a TV receiver?
It's a transmitter.
It's a DSP essentially.
Yes.
Digital signal processor that you're telling it what to do.
So that you can buy this as a TV thing, and they don't even advertise it as being able to send TV signals.
Well, the cost on eBay, they've gone up a lot.
I don't think it's a transmit.
Yes.
I think you have to have that US hard key thing.
I think people will be able to use it for transmit. I'm not sure on that, to be honest.
Looking at that China.
It would require
$120.
Yeah.
different electrical components.
Yeah, definitely it's possible. Let's find out.
Yeah, transmitting does take a little bit more power.
Yeah, it takes different chips on it.
It's got a...
Yeah, but the whole look of the radio interface would be so radically different on that small screen.
Simple DVB transmitter.
Yeah, plug into it or something.
No,
let it
that's
do its
true.
thing. Once you need to use it.
Here we go. GNUradio-based ETSI DVB transmitter works.
Yeah, I know you can do it with that software. But
Yeah.
I think you need the more expensive.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one you can do. I don't know if you can do it with the RTL 2832. Actually, let's find that out. I have not played around with the transmitting at all yet.
Did you say transmit or transmission?
Transmit.
Google understands.
Use TX.
Yeah. So yeah.
TX.
What's TX?
Yeah. TXRX, transmit receive. Wow. That might be specific. But USRP's Ultra only does receive but can do full RxTX. So.
Yeah. If there is any way to do it, we'll figure it out. But it comes down to the fact is this is pretty much the cheapest, easiest way you're going to get into GNUradio to play around with to see if it actually is something interesting to you.
Well, I guess suppose that they're cheap enough you can buy two.
Yeah.
One receive, one transmit.
Well, if they get to the point where they can get transmitting working on it.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
I don't understand why that shouldn't be that big of a deal. Just take the signal you want and amplify and send it back the other way. It's like the reverse. I mean,
Well,
there's limitations.
The reverse of a speaker too.
Right.
You can't.
You can.
Well, you can't.
It's the same thing.
The physics are a little different.
Yeah.
And I
Somebody actually made a point over there. You can buy two, and I have seen that if you know how to figure out, both of them, then you'll have increased bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's true.
But you piece them together, actually you can actually have them piece stuff together. I mean, GNUradio is pretty much unlimited what it can do.
You have access to the code.
But the core being, and this is pretty much all I've been playing around with. I haven't tried doing it with the transmit side on it. There are transmit examples out there. Man, I just can give a spin, but I don't know if it's supported. I doubt it actually is. But so improving your stream. If you do have a slow machine, grabbing a stream to a file, which will be huge. It's a lot of data, unless you actually cut back on the sampling size stuff, and then you can process it. You can also do this for some of the simple replays. I actually want to make a really simple one to go for it, if you do have the right chip to send. Desktops tend to be quieter than laptops. Just do the additional space in the metal cases. That makes a lot of, it's pretty much standard stuff. A bit more about the RTL 2832 dongles. There's 3 major places to buy them: Deal Extreme, eBay, and AliExpress. I bought a dongle from both Deal Extreme and eBay. One thing to keep in mind, if you buy from Deal Extreme, it comes from China. If you buy from eBay, more likely they're going to be shipping it from China, so don't be planning on doing it this weekend if you order it tonight. It takes a while for it to get here, but I had pretty good luck with it. Another thing to keep in mind is be very careful when you're actually ordering. Some of the chips don't have the RTL 2832. They have some other chips inside there, and they have to figure that out. The RTL SDR compatibility guide, which is at Reddit. Let's actually open that up real quick. No, do not do this to me.
I'm going to the menu to copy.
Gives you a basic laydown of the systems. The Easy Cap ones are pretty popular.
There's the Nano.
Yeah, there's the Hammond Nano's a pretty popular one because it's like really tiny. That's the one the guy with the MR-SAT was using. But there's a whole load of which ones can and can't work. The My Choco TV, I still like that name. And the Uniku. So it gives you an idea of the Peak, the Newski, which isn't Russian, which is you would imagine Newski would be. But it gives you a core one of those chips to buy. Make sure obviously you get the right ones. That'll make things go a lot better for you. As in terms of the work. As I mentioned before, AliExpress is kind of a weird situation where they're laid out in terms of their stuff. You can buy stuff from them, and apparently I've never bought anything from them, but apparently they ship you the item, then you validate it and release the payment. But let me actually show you AliExpress real quick. That is just, it's kind of like Fry's online.
Kind of like Amazon then?
Oh, no, you can buy stuff.
Say I do in a gorgeous gown.
Here's one of the ones for 10 something odd. Looks
3 diamonds.
Yes. But actually, if you look, the stuff they have on here, let me show you an example of what we're talking about. Android set top. Android TV boxes. So you can actually have, for $79, you get an 4.0, yes, HDMI set-top box for Android. Has all sorts of weird stuff on it, which just...
Yeah, you'd want 1 gig for the RAM. Oh, there's the, stop, go down a little bit. Did you see right there, the new arrival, cheapest mini. That's a USB dongle sized.
Yes. Wi-Fi, flash, 3D, 2D game, and free shipping, 67.
What? Yep.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
So
I saw that on The Verge and Engadget.
Android 4.0 and it's a dongle.
Yep.
What's the name of the site?
AliExpress.
ALI. What's
Yes.
what, the M205 or
Wait,
something?
DDR3?
It's all sorts. It's all the shit you ever wanted, man.
How's it?
I don't know.
I think
It's
it's
probably
NPS.
crap. That's the point.
No, they've
real
tested it.
Engadget.
Engadget tested it.
Well, they've tested a chip that looks similar to this. Keep in mind, if you want to get a real, you can get iPokes, that. You get all sorts of stuff on here. So, of course, the saying goes out. The only reason why I didn't buy anything from AliExpress is because it is buyer beware, but it is got some very cool stuff, and it's stuff that I need. I need so badly.
So it's not safe to buy from this website?
It's a different way of buying from it because you're actually buying. You're not buying from the website themselves.
You promise
They're
their
a
money
broker.
when you get it, and then you pay for it once you get it.
Yes.
And you can use PayPal?
No. They actually are the broker for the transaction, stuff like that. It's kind of like you're buying something from eBay, except you don't pay for it until after you receive it.
Okay.
But you don't have some of the guarantees you do with eBay.
Fell off the truck proxy?
I don't know. There's a reason why. But it's got stuff I want. It's got. I need this. This right here, the Android 2.0, not the 2.2, but the 1080p full HD Android, $100 some odd. What would I think? What you could do with all this stuff? There's all sorts of stuff you need in here. But it goes back to the core concept. I mean, it's a little different way of doing it. Obviously, be careful with it. But it seems like it's got stuff I need. I'm going to break down and buy stuff. But you're actually an individual, so the compatibility guide will make your life much, much better. That's just one of the most important things to keep in mind. Is it worth it? I always wanted to play around with GNUradio going back years. The initial price, $1,000, was way too high for me. For $20, it's been a lot of fun. I'm still just getting started with the GNUradio itself, just trying to figure out what it can do in terms of formats and that kind of stuff. It's been
well for $20. You can. It's really easy to learn radio theory, antenna design, all sorts of stuff.
Actually, there's a couple of people at the MIT Open courseware. If you look into that, there's some stuff about the radio theory and stuff like that people are recommending. Actually helps them figure out how to use GNUradio. Because keep in mind, GNUradio isn't just being done by people who are just hobbyists and stuff. There's people that do this kind of stuff for their living. I mean, the guys from Edison have been in business for probably 11 plus years now, because they've been doing GNUradio stuff, and they survive by doing this and selling various software-defined radios. So they've got a pretty good run at it. So the easier path that we're talking about is that the program that we showed you a little bit ago, GQRX, which is actually the one we just fired up. Let me just go back to it again. So that's just GQRX, which is just a really simple interface to it. It runs on top of the GNUradio stuff, and it just makes your life much, much easier. If you just want to play around listening to bandwidth and stuff like that, it works very, very well for you. What do you want? You want talk radio again? No. But it can do well. But it makes it very interesting just to play around, just to see what it can do. And it also has some of the modes and decoders and stuff as well. So.
What stations have you found locally that were interesting?
Just playing around mostly with the basic stuff. Nothing too exotic on it yet. I've been trying to figure out some of the frequencies for some of the stuff runs on around my house and stuff. I haven't had much luck with that yet.
Is that a spectrograph, or is that a
Spectrum analyzer?
Yeah, spectrum analyzer, or is that actually like more like oscilloscope type thing?
I thought it was more the oscilloscope, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, I mean, even with an oscilloscope, you could have sample rate and then center frequency, just like the spectrum analyzers. Speaking of, do you know what the sampling frequency is for the visual display?
For this one, I think it's set to what do we have set to right now? It's not defined in here, but it's usually 1.5. Okay. Here you get fast started. Receiver options. That's where we're at. So it gives you quite a bit of things to play around with. But the core being that obviously if you want to build something more advanced, obviously you can change almost anything you want to inside the GNUradio companion side. Fire that back up again real quick.
what the frequency range is, where it'll stop and where it's going to start.
It depends on which one you get. Some of the chips will do a lot more frequencies than others. Let me see if actually I can get this one tight.
It's like you're going down to at 91 megahertz, we'll go down to 1.
I think
like
he had 2 earlier.
455
60
kilohertz, you know.
64, 75.
Yeah, I think Tom's out of 7. I forget what the bottom end was.
Yeah.
But there's a gap too.
Yes, there's a gap in the board. It's
Is that a legally imposed gap?
no, it's just a gap inside the actual chip.
So you could probably pick up digital cell phones with this.
So which one get on this one?
It's busy.
Yes.
22, 22,
LBAN.
52 more.
It can pull multiple frequencies back. It's got the gap inside it, but it can pick a pretty wide range on it. I don't remember exactly what it is, but you can actually, let's find out. Where is it all?
Was what you just did, were you running a test or something?
Yes, there's a program, one of the ones that comes with it called RTL test, which will tell you what all frequencies will support. Let's see if I can find here.
So you could essentially get 164, you could get the weather radio.
You get all sorts of stuff with it.
So he needs to make a software-based like controller or timer for a bunch of them to do a phase array based off some really NAS, so it would be.
Here we go. Frequency, the Elonix E4000, widest possible range, 64 to 700 megahertz with a gap from 1100 to 1250 megahertz. We used out of spec. But that varies from the depending upon which tuner you get. The EZ caps can do certain things. It's actually kind of interesting the way it's laid out right now. This is all from the Reddit higher level page on that.
Why is there that gap? Why is that gap there from 1100?
Why is there a hole in a donut? Because it's there. No, I don't know why. I think it's
maybe because there's no TV channels, in the
that's possibly. I mean, it's a hardware limitation though. So.
Okay.
But I mean, some of the chips. I mean, you get a chip from some other group that maybe that they'll support it. Who knows? But
okay. That's just this chip then.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just this RTL 2832. But you can use the RTL test programs to give that information on it. And if you want to go lower level, you can actually just capture stuff at the command line without using GNUradio and stuff like that as well. If you know the frequency, the range, all that stuff, you can send all the information and it's captured to a file and do processing later on. You can then bring it into GNUradio and do stuff with it and stuff. So it's pretty much, there really aren't a whole lot of limitations to it. So it can do quite a bit for you. So actually,
Have you been able to find any good GNUradio tutorials?
There's actually a guy is just putting one together, but he's not much further along than unfortunately than I am right now, which is I built GNUradio, I installed this, I got rid of my default antenna, my life is pretty good now, and then I discovered GQRX, and I don't spend all my life swearing at the dongle anymore.
Yeah.
So, but for the most part, the GNUradio stuff, the documentation, that some of it's great, some of it's lame. The wiki is pretty much where you go, but the quality of that can vary tremendously as well. But there's so many people playing with it now that I think you're going to see an uptick inside the amount of documentation, because there are so many people. It's like when the Linksys router was known to be hackable, things went. Yeah. I think if you look at the way it worked out, I mean, if you looked at if you look 6 months ago, the average person using GNUradio probably been using it for 5+ years. Probably 90% were 5+ years on it. Now, if you look at it, probably 90% of them are less than the last 6 months, because it's just so much people have taken up just because they can play with it now and do weird things with it.
I have one of these things I've been messing with for the last week or two.
Cool.
I can use Linux a little, but I came to this meeting with this, and so I've been messing with the Windows side.
Are you using WinHSR or WinRAR?
HD SDR. and then one called WinRAR.
Okay.
There's also one called SDR Sharp. I haven't tried yet. But anyway, GNUradio looks like it has a lot more capabilities.
GNUradio is a lot more capabilities. I mean, you can run GNUradio under Linux itself because it does use the WX GUI, which it will run under. No, it's WX GUI. It will run under. It's not. You don't have to build it there. There's actually precompiled packages out there for it. So definitely give that a spin. And theoretically, the GQRX stuff should be able to run there because that uses the Qt toolkit. And it runs on top of the higher levels, so it might be possible to run that as well.
Okay.
I haven't tried that out yet. But if it does, that would definitely be a much better way to go. Because in terms of capabilities, it can do a lot of stuff. GNUradio makes the impossible possible, and it makes the possible very difficult sometimes. But it can do a lot of stuff for you. But definitely, it's worthwhile to play around with it a bit more. Definitely try the GNUradio companion stuff. Because there are some examples for it and stuff like that, and it just can do. And if you get GQRX, if somebody's got a precompiled for Windows, that obviously just for scanning and stuff like that would be.
I think that's the next step for me. I did the script. It's installed. I pulled it up. It works. That's as far as I've got with GNU.
Yeah.
So yeah, the overlay is next. So.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job with that stuff. So yeah, definitely if you can, if you want the easier path, it is definitely the way to go. There's a couple other projects, the HDSR, which is a Windows program that runs, it's closed source, so it is freeware. It's designed with the interface, supposed to work well in netbooks. I haven't played around because I don't do Windows unless I really have to. I have no choice. Another one is WinRAR, Windows only. It's open source, and the only question not to use their name, same as the Perl license, pretty much. Freeware, it hasn't been updated in 2 years. They're looking for a new coder, so if you know somebody who's good with Borland, Code Gear, and Embarcadero. How do you pronounce that?
Embarcadero. Corinthian leather.
But that's pretty much the whole thing where C++ Builder 1 through is right. They're looking for someone to get in touch. But if you do the WinRAR, you have to do the file base. You have to dump it to a file with the command line stuff and then actually import the file into it. But they're looking for developers, somebody's interested in helping them out. So we've got 4 pages of links to go through, just talk about a high level. So GNUradio site, www.GNUradio.org. I know it seems pretty exotic compared to most of them, but
are your slides online somewhere?
I will provide them
to me. Yep.
I provided you the link to it a couple weeks ago.
Huh?
I provided you a link to. I'll send it to you again. But Hackaday, how many people read Hackaday?
Not every day.
Oh.
Most days.
Hackaday is, quite honestly, one of the greatest things around. So, you can do it quite as simple as, let's take a look for RTL 2832. Working software-defined radio, TV tuner card. This is where I first started hearing about this one existing. And apparently somebody playing around with passive radar with these, which...
Yeah, that's interesting. It's a lot of...
Yeah. So actually one thing that's really been, that's about 2 slides ahead, is the power base. Is a gentleman out there has put together a or lady, I believe it's a dude, Tom Nardi, probably a dude. It's putting together his stuff, getting started with RTL SDR, which he goes through the basics of the high-level information about it. Talks about the antenna upgrade and all that stuff. This is how I discovered about the GQRX thing, which is just really nice. I do like this, the way he's got defined a quote-unquote simple software and software radio and GNUradio. But he has a whole bunch of, he has some information he's put together on, which is actually pretty good stuff. But before we get too far away from Hackaday, I got to show you one other thing since we're here. So Hackaday also has a section on, what would you imagine? What's the one thing you're lording over me that you have that I don't have right now besides your job?
Raspberry Pi.
Yes. There's a whole section of Raspberry Pi hacks. So,
A watch controlling the Pi.
Yes. Getting a console and Quake 2 running on the Pi. Do you have Quake running in yours yet? Well, obviously you're slacking. But so Hackaday has all sorts of stuff on there. You look for the radio section; they have all sorts of information about it. It's just a pretty good full site for that information.
You must have used a laser cutter on that.
What's the minimum requirements to run this?
The dongle.
Dongle
or
computer.
For the computer.
For the computer,
They run like an island or something?
if you're running, I mean, a decent Linux thing, I mean, if you got a computer in the last couple of years, obviously it'll work pretty well on it. I haven't run any performance problems in the ones I've played around so far. If you're talking about running on a netbook with a low end Atom, well, you could probably still use it, but you'd probably have to break it into steps. You'd probably have to capture the data, then process the data afterwards, instead of trying to process it in line.
Just listening for signals, things like that. Like turn this switch on when this happens.
I don't know. You could probably go pretty low on it. I don't know. The thing is, keep in mind, if you can restrict back the bandwidth, all that information, you can just have it do less stuff. So it might work for you. So RTSL compatibility guide was the one we showed you a little bit ago on Reddit. The Amateur Radio Relay League has a section on their site that's defined to SDR. It's a little bit older material, but it has a lot of the good concepts and stuff on there. And if you are interested in playing around this stuff, obviously the ham radio guys are a great group of guys. There's a couple groups around town. Obviously, I don't know if they still do all of them do their meetings, all that stuff all the time. And I don't know if they've done one on software-defined radio yet, but they're just a good group of guys. And definitely they have a lot of information about stuff like it will help keep you out of jail if you do start trying to play around the transmit side and stuff like that. Getting started with the RTL website, that was the one we showed just a second ago for that right for Deal Extreme Power Base. The fun stuff, Yablog is a guy putting together some stuff on Tumblr. He's got a pretty simple stuff right now, but he's got some potential with his stuff. GQRX, just want to make sure I include it in here because it's definitely the way to go. It'll make your life suck much, much less. OZ9AEC's website is the guy who home of the GQRX stuff. And some other interesting stuff, such as the DVD. Actually, I'm not sure if he has a DVD transmitter or not. Let's take a look at that real quick. But he's done some interesting stuff with his system. But he's the guy who's doing putting together a lot of information on this stuff. So, but he's got some very cool stuff that he's working on. He's putting together some documentation as well, which definitely works out. It's a great site. Definitely worthwhile to take a look at. The GNUradio tutorial page. The Balint, hopefully it's correct. It's much better than Balint, which I know is going to be.
Just say Balint.
Balint, yes. Balint has got some stuff he's put together on just how the basic stuff works of GNUradio, and it's really a nice place to get started. He has right now, I believe last I looked, he had like 5 or 6 tutorials, but they talk about some basic theory and that kind of stuff, how to do setup, that kind of information. Very good stuff. Definitely worthwhile to take a look at. And that's about all I got. So, where I'm at with it, I've been playing with it. I've figured a couple things out. There's still stuff I'm trying to figure out, but I'm hoping the documentation stuff of that will get better in the next period of time. But if you do want to get started with it, there's no better time. It's not going to I can't see it getting cheaper. But in terms of that, all you really need is some disk space, Linux, Windows, whatever you want to run it on, and just go to town on it. Have you got any questions?
Yeah. Where's your presentation going to be?
It'll be on the OLUG site.
It'll be on OLUG.org.
How many
/presentations.
do you have?
I've got
then the month.
2 or 3. I've got one I think I may have misplaced / given to someone or not. I'm not sure if I did.
Figured out like wireless keyboards and things like that, and how to transmit.
Don't know. It's just part of the wonder of it. So far, I've been pretty much playing around just the basics, just seeing what you can and can't do in terms of receiving. So.
RF remote controls for teams.
Yeah. But what it can do in terms of what it can do in terms of capabilities of transmitting, really don't. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I know. I'm pretty sure it's pretty well limited in that space. But in terms of receiving, you can do almost anything you want to within those bandwidths. So. Give it a spin. If it works out and you like it, definitely it's worthwhile to consider it. Because the one nice thing about this is it's probably going to bring down the cost of the other devices as well. Hopefully, we'll get to the point where we can get yourself an Edis for $500 or whatever, which would make things a lot better. And then you can start doing some real stuff with it. But it's a great way to get started on it, and it's been interesting for me.
Great.
That's all I got.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
Should we play with it?
Let's see. I think mine went to sleep. I don't have anything else. I'm just going to put a Q&A.
What's next month?
What's next month's topic? Yes.
Well, the person I thought was going to be next month is not here, so I cannot confirm next month.
What are you going to make Adam do next?
Oh, Adam's going to be He's going to have him try to do near the visit. Kind of cool.
Yes.
Yes. Device mirroring. It's like mirroring hard drives over.
Well, the reading from both, writing from both.
Yeah.
It's like
You can do that
read without, except it's more than over a.
One more storage and another computer with another mirroring. So it's more or less like
Use Gluster like a man.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Going next door?
Yes, going next door to have a drink.
Yes.
So, must have drink.
At the bar, I will.
Yeah, thanks. You know, you can go. Can you not go?